But if it doesn't really matter, why not vote no again and avoid this whole fallout with Israel? Because it obviously mattered to them. And so I guess where I'm coming from is, how did we get here? What caused this? And is it politics?
Check this out.
So look, the principles of the deal were there, right? It talked about a ceasefire. It talked about hostages, which we believe the principles were there. But we believe the only path forward to a ceasefire is to negotiate a hostage deal, a hostage release as well, right? We believe those two things are both important, and to do that together.
Holy shit.
And so
this vote didn't do that, though. It didn't condition them.
Well, that's not how we saw it. Right, and so we have long said a ceasefire will not be achieved in the Security Council, but through diplomacy on the ground. That's what we have said. We have to see that diplomacy on the ground.
Fake news, fake news, fake weather.
And so the resolution, as I've stated, as you just stated in your question, is non-binding and does not create new obligations under the international law, such as what the Council does when it imposes obligatory sanctions. But nevertheless, that shouldn't matter.
Okay.
Even though the resolution lacks the binding provision, all Security Council resolutions carry great weight and should be implemented. In this case, however, it is irrelevant whether the resolution imposes any new legal objections, as the text demands exactly what the United States has long been pushing. We want both a hostage deal and a ceasefire, making sure that humanitarian aid gets in.
I didn't understand a one word you said.
And that's what we want to see. That's why we believe the principles were right, but we didn't feel like it did exactly where we stand on our policy.
It wasn't nothing. The U.S. has blocked previous votes from going through that looked exactly like this. So what caused the shift, and what is the president's reason for allowing this to go through? It is a change.
Then check this out.
No, it is not. It is not a policy change. We've been very clear. We disagree. We've been very clear that in order to get a hostage deal that would lead to a ceasefire, we also got to get that humanitarian aid. We believe it is all connected in that way. And so that is where we stood. That's where we've been. It is not a policy change. The principles were there, but we needed to, we have a way that we want to do this, right?
Really?
Hostage deal, those are the critical conversations that are happening, the active conversations that are happening, making sure that we get those hostages home. American hostages are also included to their loved ones. We also got to get that humanitarian aid, and we believe that diplomatic effort, the diplomacy, the diplomatic work that is being done would lead us to that.
She's 21 and dumb as a Brillo pen.
And so we've been very clear and steadfast about this, and that's where we're going to continue to be.
This is linked to the president worried about losing support from Gen Z?
Well, let me be very clear. This is not about politics. It's not. The president does not lead his national security or things that are the right thing to do in this sense, right? Getting that hostage deal, making sure hostages come home, including, as I said over and over again, American hostages, getting that humanitarian aid into Gaza and making sure that we believe that would lead to a ceasefire. That is not about politics.
That is a fucking lie.
No.
I mean, where's the follow-up question? This is disinformation.
It is about the right thing to do. This is why we continue those active conversations and making sure that we can get there. It is important to get this done. Go ahead.
Tomorrow the president will be in New York, and he is going to be with two former presidents. I'm not asking about the campaign piece of that. Could you speak to the historical significance or the stature of the moment to have three presidents together? And while he is in New York, you, I'm sure, have seen reports there was a New York City police officer who died in the line of duty. Any plan to acknowledge that officer? So a two-part question, but first about the historical significance of the president's being.
Don't change the subject, just answer the fucking question.
So and I'm going to be really mindful, and I have to say this, there's a Hatch Act, I am a federal employee, I'm not going to follow the law and not comment on 2024 campaign, but I'll say a couple of things at the top. President Obama and President Clinton strongly support President Biden's leadership and obviously his agenda. All three have agree overwhelmingly on the issues that this president has been fighting for the past 3 years.
Oh my God,
It's horrible. Including an economy that works for all, leaves no one behind, that is an economy that's built from the bottom up, middle out, making sure that we protect our critical freedoms. That is something that they all three agree on, freedom to choose, or protecting our democracy. And so there are, of course, many conservative leaders in the country who oppose the dark vision.
You sit on a throne of lies.
Put forward by extreme Republican officials that would drag us into the past, would trickle down tax giveaways to the rich, cuts Medicare and Social Security, radical abortion bans and attacks on the rule of law. That is not these three presidents. So we understand the importance of the three of them being together. Obviously, this is going to be an important event. I want to be really careful and not speak to a campaign event, obviously.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
The campaign could speak more specifically to the broader significance of them being there. But look, these are presidents, two former presidents, the current president, that believe in what we're trying to do in the Biden-Harris administration, trying to move this country forward, trying to make sure we're protecting our democracy, protecting our freedom, building an economy that leaves no one behind. And
Lying piece of human trash!
I think that's what the most important here as it relates to the death of the officer. Look, our hearts go out to this officer who tragically lost his life in the line of duty. We're also praying for his family during this difficult time, who now has an empty seat at their dinner table. President Biden is deeply grateful for the sacrifices police officers make to keep our communities safe.
A damn liar, man. That's not true.
This shooting is yet another painful reminder of the toll of gun violence, that what it's doing to inflict on families and our communities and our nation. And that's why the president signed more than 24 executive actions. That's why we're able to pass a bipartisan agreement to deal with the gun violence that we're seeing in this country. Obviously, more work needs to be done.
Okay.
We need Congress to continue to act on making sure that our communities are safe. Again, our hearts go out to this officer and his family. It's a difficult time for them. Go ahead, Sabrina.
Thank you. Do you have any comment on the decision by a federal appeals court today to continue blocking Texas's migrant deportation law, SB4?
Guys, don't change the subject. Just answer the fucking question.
So, a couple of things on that. Obviously, I want to first take a step back and just remind us how we got here. We have said from the beginning that SB4 is an extreme unconstitutional law that will burden law enforcement and make communities less safe. We disagreed with the Supreme Court order yesterday letting the law go into effect, and we welcome the Fifth Circuit and their decision overnight pausing the implementation of it. Ultimately, we need real solutions, right?
She's 21 and dumb as a Brillo pen.
We need that decision, that negotiation proposal that came out of the Senate in a bipartisan fashion. We need that to move. We need it to move out of the Senate. We need it to move out of the House and to get to the desk of this president. And we believe that that bipartisan border security agreement would not only be the toughest, but it'd be the fairest.
Okay.
And it took us a couple of months to work on it. It got support from the Border Patrol Union. It got support from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, something that you don't see nowadays. And so we are going to continue to encourage Congress to move forward. As we know, the former president, President Trump, told Republicans on the Hill to not move forward with it, to reject it, because it would help us. It would help Joe Biden.
You liar!
And it would hurt him. And that's not who we should be as a country. We should be where majority of Americans are. They want us to deal with what's happening at the border, and they want us to fix this immigration.